Hello everyone, this is Leo from the Monkeys Making Misplace. Today we are going to be starting with Lascaria. I will be making a community post, so if you can check that out, I'm going to be posting what the schedule is for this week, so you kind of get what the new kind of video upload schedule will be. I'll probably make I'll have the post before this video comes out, so you'll have it there to see. But we are going to be doing Androld or Direful dolls versus Lascaria / Veleno. Both of these are very defensive decks with new defensive abilities. They're both really fun, I'm gonna be honest. Cat wanted to play both of these, but obviously we thought it'd be cool to have them face each other. So that's why I'm playing dolls. To be fair, the doll deck is really fun. You play the grade 1 and the grade 2 from the right line in the main deck as well, because they are names and they have rearguard abilities that do help with the main deck strategy. But quickly, let's talk about Androld himself. So you can counterblast one to choose up to the same number of Workoroid cards with Direful doll in their names from your soul, equal to the grade of your opponent's Vanguard, and then you get to call them to rear. And then if you call 3 cards, you get to drive +1. So obviously, if you are going first, your opponent's going to be at grade 2 when you get to grade 3, so you'll only be able to call 2 cards. But if you're going second, that means you get to get that triple drive right off the bat, which is really good. Then his second ability says when he is attacked, you choose up to 1 Workoroid card with Direful doll in its card name from your bind zone, call it to Guardian Circle, and that card gains an additional 5k shield until end of that battle. So this is where we start seeing the beginning of that defensive ability that we were talking about. We'll definitely talk about the dolls that bind themselves from. We'll also talk the right line cards when we get to them. No need to talk to them here. So yep, you want to get dolls in soul to then call to rear. Starting with grade 3s, obviously you've got 3 extra copies of Androld just to get the Persona Ride. Obviously the deck does have a good amount of power, but you never want to not have the Persona Ride, right? Then we move on to the first rear guard doll, or non-ride line doll, and that is Liberata. She's one of the better ones. So when she's placed on rear or put on Guardian Circle, if you have a grade 3 or grade Vanguard with Direful doll in its card name, you choose a card with Direful doll in its card name from your drop and put it into your soul. So if you bind her and then use her to guard, you'll be able to cycle something back into soul. Or if you just call her normally to rear, you just get to put something into soul. And then her second ability is that when she attacks, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard Direful doll, you can have it gain plus 10k, but then at the end of the battle, it'll bind itself. And then when it does, you can counterblast one to draw a card. So it gets itself in a bind for you to be able to guard later. Obviously, since it's a grade 3, it has no shield. So if with Androld's ability, it'll only be a 5k shield, but it is draw power in the deck, so that's pretty good. The deck doesn't use as much CB as you really need. You're usually only using Androld or Liberata, so that's pretty good. Then for the last grade 3, we're playing 1 copy of Bracing Angel Ladder. If you have Chalice, you can play Chalice instead. I just kind of like this because it just lets me draw a little bit more and get a little bit of extra soul, as well as being good protection effects that with things like Shirnui and stuff like that still running around. You kind of just want to have this, but I know that this card is very expensive, so if you don't have this, you can definitely just play Chalice or Evergreen Transfer, whatever you feel like, but definitely a good card. So then we have the grade 2 doll, which is Providenza. She is your way to get multi-attack in the deck. Her first ability gives her plus 10k when she attacks a grade 3 or greater unit, as long as your Vanguard is a grade 3 or greater Direful doll. So 20k attacker, very good. And then at the end of the battle, it attacks. If you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Direful doll in its card name, you can Soul Blast 3, bind this unit, and choose a Workoroid with Direful doll in its different card name from this card from your soul and call it to rear. So you get to multi-attack right away. She just doesn't gain that power. So, you can definitely chain this into a Liberata, and then, get a doll from Soul, keep the whole cycle going. The deck needs you to kind of cycle a lot of the things to really effectively do what you want it to. But this is your multi-attacker. You really want to mold to get this card in hand because you need to be able to have at least one of these so that you can at least have 4 attacks. Obviously, you'd want to have 2, but remember, it's 3 energy a turn, so you're not going to be able to use 2 a turn always. Then we've got another grade 2. This is the one from the ride line. So its rear guard ability, it's when it's placed on rear. If you have Vanguard with Direful Doll in its card name, you can put a card with Direful Doll from your hand into Soul. Then you draw a card and Vanguard and it get +5. So a really nice card. You can usually call these off of the Providenzas if you don't have like a Liberata. But yeah, Griselda's cool. It's one of the cards that we're just kind of playing because we need Direful Doll names. But really not like the greatest thing. You know, the ability to put selective things into Soul is cool, but there is a lot of other cards that just kind of do that, like this next card we're going to talk about, which is Pelagia. This grade 1 has 2 abilities. At the end of the battle, it boosted. If you have Vanguard with Direful Doll in its card name, you can bind it, and then you choose 2 cards with Direful Doll and their card names from drop and put them into Soul. So not only does it bind itself, but it gets you the cards into Soul. And then on top of that, its second ability says that if you have a Vanguard with Direful Doll in its card name, it becomes a 10k shield, which means that when you use this to guard with from bind with Androld, it's a 15k shield. So it's essentially an extra trigger on every attack that you use it to guard with, right? So it's a really good card. This combined with, let me quickly, these are the 3 cards you want to cycle. So these 3 right here are what you're trying to cycle as often as possible, because they're the way to you're gonna get your things right. So usually you use this to guard, and then you try to get this one, and then you use this as the last one to get the Pelagia in there, so that you can then you know, get these 2 into Soul as well. Then lastly, we have 3 copies of Serenella, which is the grade 1 from the ride line. When it attacks or boosts, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Direful Doll, it gains +5k, but then at the end of the battle, it has to bind itself, which is fine because it becomes a 10k guard in bind, so that's pretty good. Then we've got one more Direful Doll for the normal units, and that is Simone. Simone says that when it boosts, if your soul has 5 or more cards, you counterblast 1 until the end of the battle. When your opponent would call cards from their hand to Guardian, they got to call 2 more. So it's a guard restrict. You're not going to be using it that often, but it is nice sometimes to just have that ability to just be like, hey, this is a battle door effect on like something that's like a really, really small number. So they either have to take it or just be like, well, goddamn, I got to use like a 15k and like another 5k or something, right? It can just be annoying for your opponent. Then we've got a full set of Sparta. That first ability doesn't matter. The second ability is if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, you can bind a trigger from your soul and it gets +10k. So it becomes an 18k booster. But what you can do is you can bind Direful Doll triggers, and then now you can use those to guard, and they have the extra 5k shield. So you're looking at 20k shield from bind for, you know, all your battles. So that's pretty good. Full set because you want to see this, and there's no real way to dig for it, so you kind of just want to have a max amount of them. Then lastly, we're playing 2 copies of Amethyst, or Almethyst, excuse me. Another guarding card. You're probably only ever going to be able to use this once. It's a 20k shield, or it's a counter charge, which, you know, sometimes you might just need that counter charge. And the 0 from the ride line never really gets used for anything. And the grade 1 as well. You can pretty much use these if you really need to. Once you're a Persona ride, you can pretty much just bind the Androld and the grade 0, so that's pretty good. You could definitely play something like Blitz Order in here. I think it's just a defensive option that can help you, you know, have some extra shield in hand or have some extra counter charging. So that's why I'm playing the 2 Amethysts in this deck. Then the last things for the normal units are your obligatory 3 PGs and your Sanctitude. Yeah, just kind of have to, right? This is the standard thing you're gonna do. You're gonna play 3 Sanctitude or 3 PG and a Sanctitude because, you know, just kind of have to. We are getting a new Sanctitude in the future, so hey, that'll be cool to see. Then for triggers, you've got your Dark States OT, which, you know, kind of good. You know, it gives +10k in a crit. Nothing really you can argue there. Then we're playing 3 draw triggers just to have some extra draw power, because sometimes you do need to find those grade 2s multi-attackers. And if you don't find them, you're going to be in a real bind, right? So the extra draws, as well as, you can just, you have extra shield with all your blitz, so, or with all your dolls. So even though this is just a 10k shield, you add one of the grade 1 or grade 2 dolls, you got 20k shield. So it's not as awful. You can definitely play the fronts, but sometimes your attack patterns aren't going to allow for that. So that's why I play draws here instead. Then we have 4 copies. And this one is needed, which is Direful doll Bethany, because again, she's a Direful doll, right? This one was printed in the also largest quick start deck, so it should be readily available. It shouldn't be that expensive. We did pick up all of them, so we have the full set here. But she's a crit with 15k that says Direful doll. This becomes a 20k shield if you bind it with Sparta, so pretty good. Then besides that, we've got another just 4 effect crits just for the extra soul if we really need to. You can put these in the soul, then bind them with Sparta. Sparta doesn't care that it has to be a Direful doll. She just needs a trigger. Then for heals, again, there is a specific. We've got 2 Charmaine. This is the, if your opponent's Vanguard's grade is greater than you, then it gets extra shield. Really good against any grade 4 decks. Really good if you're going second. Really good against the Stride deck sets. So pretty good, as well as, guess what, it's a Direful doll, so if this gets bound, it comes back to being a 15k shield, so there's no real drawback in that department. But if you are playing against one of those grade 4 or you're going second or anything like that, then you got a 25k shield, which is pretty good. Then the last 2 heals are again specific. We've got another 2 copies of Direful doll Alexandra. It's another heal. It's got Direful doll. Kind of hard to not play these. These aren't that expensive. I don't think either of these are. You might have a little bit of hard time finding the Bethany's because these are a little bit newer. But besides that, you're just gonna be getting these because you want to be able to bind them and then get a big shield. I mean, you got 20k here, 20k here. If this ability goes off, you got 25k here. So very good to be playing these. This deck is incredibly fun. It is so fun. I love defensive decks. I love defensive strategies in Vanguard. I feel like they haven't been well represented just because, people like playing aggro. They like going fast. And, some decks just don't play like that. But nonetheless, I really had fun playing this deck. I do like this build. It's very good. But you will see Kat posting the deck profile for Lascaria on Wednesday. That is another deck that we essentially kind of flipped a coin to see who was going to play which. But we could have both played either of these decks. They're both super fun. I think these are the funnest ones out of the Divine Z set 1. Definitely not the best. I'm not going to say that at all. They're definitely not the best. I think that goes to Varga and Raziel. But these are the funnest, in my opinion. I think Kat would agree with me. These are some of the funnest decks out there. But nonetheless, this has been Leo. I thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time.